The year is 2018 BC. In the heart of Mesopotamia, near the confluence of the Euphrates and Tigris rivers, stands the prosperous city of Ur. Its streets bustle with merchants, craftsmen, and priests serving the moon god Sin. The great ziggurat dominates the horizon, a monument to the pagan worship that permeates every aspect of life. Here, a man named Abram is born into prosperity and idolatry. His father, Terah, has a respectable yet ironic trade. He crafts idols. Clay and wooden images emerge from his skilled hands, sold to those who revere them as gods. Abram grows up among these lifeless figures, shaping them alongside his father. But something within him always questions, how could these inanimate statues have created the stars that shine in the night sky? How could they have formed the mighty Euphrates flowing through the city? Abram is married to Sarai, his half-sister, a woman of extraordinary beauty. But a silent pain inhabits their home. Sarai is barren. There are no children, no heirs, and both are no longer young. Despite Ur's material prosperity, Abram feels a profound emptiness. While his contemporaries bow before carved images, he seeks something greater, something real. There are stories passed down through generations about the true God, the creator of heaven and earth. His ancestor Shem still lives, a man who knew the world before the great flood. Perhaps it was through him that Abram learned about God, God Most High, producer of heaven and earth. Life follows its rhythm until God speaks. It is not thunder. It is not a confused dream. It is a clear, unmistakable voice that penetrates Abram's heart with divine authority. Leave your land, your relatives, and your father's house, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. The divine command places Abram before an impossible dilemma. Leaving Ur means abandoning everything: the security of a prosperous city, the family business, the protection of walls, ties with relatives. But the most bewildering aspect is the promise to become a great nation, when he and Sarai don't even have one child, and both are already elderly. How could this make sense? Terah, his father, despite being an idol maker, agrees to leave. Perhaps his advanced age, around 200 years, had made him more receptive to the call of the true God. Or perhaps paternal love moved him to accompany his son on this seemingly insane journey. Lot, Abram's orphaned nephew, would also follow, having been adopted by the childless couple. The caravan prepares. Flocks are gathered, servants organized, provisions accumulated. News spreads through Ur. Terah and his family are leaving the city. They're going to Canaan, they say, because of a voice Abram heard. Some others shake their heads in pity. But Abram remains firm. For the first time in his life, he has absolute certainty about something. That voice carried divine authority, inexplicable love, and a promise that transcended all human logic. Sarai watches her husband with a mixture of fear and admiration. She hasn't heard the voice, but she knows Abram well enough to know something extraordinary has happened. "Do you really believe?" she asks one night as they pack their last belongings. "I don't know how the promise will be fulfilled, Sarai. I don't know what land this is, or how we'll become a great nation without children. But I know one thing. The voice I heard was real. It was him. And that is enough." The caravan departs from Ur, following the great river northwest. It is an arduous journey of approximately 960 kilometers. The scorching desert sun alternates with freezing nights. Sandstorms threaten the travelers. But they persist. Months later, they reach Haran, an important junction of trade routes. The city sits where two valleys meet, forming a watercourse that in winter reaches the Balik River. It is a strategic, prosperous, safe place. There, the caravan settles. Abram tends his flocks, builds his wealth, and waits. But waits for what? The divine promise seems to have dissolved into the daily routine of Haran. Years pass. Terah ages even more. And then, when Terah reaches 205 years and dies, Jehovah speaks again. Abram is now 75 years old. The promise has not been forgotten. It is time to depart again, this time to Canaan. The covenant between Jehovah and Abram will officially come into effect. It is the 14th day of the month that would later be called Nisan, in the year 1943 BC. Abram gathers Sarai, Lot, all his servants, flocks, and possessions. With his heart full of expectation and faith, he crosses the Euphrates River, leaving Haran behind. The destination is unknown. The circumstances impossible. But the promise is real. The nomadic life of Abraham is about to truly begin. And with it, a journey of faith that would change the course of human history forever. The journey from Haran to Canaan takes weeks. Abram's caravan crosses arid deserts, traverses fertile valleys, and climbs rocky hills. Each step is an act of faith, for Jehovah has not specified exactly where to go. Only, the land I will show you. Finally, they reach Shechem, situated about 48 kilometers north of where Jerusalem would later stand. There, near the great trees of Moreh, something extraordinary happens. God appears again to Abram. I will give this land to your offspring, declares the Lord. Abram builds an altar there, the first of many he will erect in Canaan. But as he offers sacrifices and calls on the name of Jehovah, an uncomfortable reality imposes itself. The Canaanites inhabit this land. They are not few, nor peaceful. They are established tribes with fortified cities and armies. How could this land be theirs? And there is another problem, even more urgent. Sarai remains barren. Abram continues south, crossing the land, building altars between Bethel and Ai, constantly calling on the name of Jehovah. But then a severe famine strikes Canaan. The pastures dry up. The cattle begin to waste away. Provisions dwindle dangerously. The promised land seems more like a deadly trap. Abram makes a pragmatic but anguished decision. They need to go down to Egypt temporarily. It is the only way to survive. But as they approach the Egyptian border, another fear consumes him. Sarai, he says one night, his voice tense. You are a very beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they will want to take you to Pharaoh. And they will kill me for it. Sarai pales. What shall we do? Say you are my sister. Technically it's true, we are half-siblings. This might save my life. It is a half-truth motivated by fear. And it almost costs everything. As Abram feared, Sarai's extraordinary beauty does not go unnoticed. Pharaoh's officials see her and praise her before their lord. Sarai is taken to the royal palace. Abram, presented as her brother, is rewarded generously with sheep, cattle, donkeys, servants, and maidservants. But in the palace, Sarai is terrified. Will she be forced to become Pharaoh's wife? How can God's promise be fulfilled if she belongs to another man? Jehovah, however, does not abandon his servants. Severe plagues fall upon Pharaoh's house. Mysterious diseases afflict the palace. Egyptian magicians are consulted and, somehow, the truth is discovered. That woman is not just Abram's sister, but his wife. Pharaoh summons Abram, furious. Why have you done this to me? Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Take her and go. Humiliated but alive, Abram returns to Canaan with Sarai intact. God has protected them, but the shame of that cowardly decision would remain as a scar. He also returns wealthier. Pharaoh has given him many possessions, including an Egyptian maidservant named Hagar, whose role in the story is yet to come. Back in Canaan, they settle again between Bethel and Ai, where Abram had previously built an altar. But material success brings new conflict. The flocks of Abram and Lot have grown enormously. Both own sheep, goats, cattle, servants, and riches. The land is not sufficient to sustain both pastoral operations in the same location. Arguments begin to arise between Abram's shepherds and Lot's. Your animals drank from our cistern first. Your flocks invaded our pasture. Abram sees the problem growing. The Canaanites and Perizzites also inhabit that land, watching with interest the conflicts among the Hebrew foreigners. Internal fighting could make them vulnerable. In a gesture of extraordinary generosity and wisdom, Abram summons Lot. Let there be no quarrel between me and you, nor between my herdsmen and yours, for we are brothers, says Abram, pointing to the vastness of the land. Is not the whole land before you? Separate from me, please. If you go to the left, I will go to the right. If you go to the right, I will go to the left. It is a decisive moment. Abram, as the elder and patriarch, has the right to choose first. But in love and humility, he offers the choice to Lot. Lot looks around. His eyes fix on the Jordan plain, well-watered, verdant, fertile, like the garden of Jehovah. There stand the prosperous cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, centers of commerce and civilization. Without hesitation, Lot chooses the best for himself. I will go to the Jordan plain. Abram watches his nephew depart with the flocks toward the east, toward Sodom. Something within him whispers that this choice will not end well. Sodom has riches, yes, but it also has a dark reputation. The men of that city are wicked and great sinners against God. Alone now, Abram wonders if he has made the right choice. He has given Lot the best and kept the more arid hills for himself. But then God speaks again. Lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, to the north, to the south, to the east, and to the west, for all the land you see, I will give to you and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust of the earth, then your offspring could also be counted. Renewed by the promise, Abram moves to Hebron, settling among the great trees of Mamre. There he builds another altar to God. But the obstacles are only beginning. The promise of offspring as numerous as the dust of the earth seems increasingly impossible. Sarai remains barren. Years pass. And on the horizon, a war approaches, a war that will test Abram's courage and change Lot's destiny forever. The news arrives in Hebron like a whirlwind of despair. A servant who escaped the battle, covered in dust and blood, stumbles to Abram's camp. Master, Lot has been captured. Abram feels his heart tighten. What? Explain yourself. The man, gasping, tells the terrible story. 4 powerful kings from the east, led by Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, have invaded Canaan to crush a rebellion. 5 local kings, including those of Sodom and Gomorrah, tried to resist in the valley of Siddim but were completely defeated. The cities were plundered. Lot, his possessions, his family, everything was taken as spoils of war. They are heading north, master, to Damascus and beyond. Abram is now 86 years old. He is not a warrior. He is a shepherd, a nomad, a man of faith. But Lot is his nephew, practically his adopted son. And those foreign kings have invaded the land Jehovah promised to give to his offspring. Something within Abram ignites. It is not just courage. It is a divine certainty that he must act. Quickly, he summons his 318 trained household servants. Men born in his house, loyal to the death. He also calls his confederates, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, Amorite chiefs who have made an alliance with him. We're going to rescue Lot, declares Abram, with an authority that surprises even himself. His wife Sarai watches him prepare for battle. She sees in her husband's face something she has never seen before. It is not anger, it is divine purpose. "Come back to me," she whispers, touching his face. "God will be with us," he responds. "This land is his, and Lot is ours." The march is brutal. Perhaps 300 kilometers in relentless pursuit, crossing rugged terrain, following the trail of the invading armies. Abram's men are shepherds, not professional soldiers. They will face a force vastly superior in number and military experience. But Abram has something the kings don't have: God fights for him. They reach the enemy near Damascus, at Hobah. Abram divides his men strategically and attacks during the night, when least expected, when the camp celebrates its victory. The attack is devastating. Chedorlaomer's armies, caught by surprise and disorganized in the darkness, panic. Confusion spreads like fire. Shouts, clashing metal, men running without direction. Against all odds, Abram defeats a coalition of 4 kings. Lot is freed. His family rescued. The stolen goods of Sodom and Gomorrah recovered. The victory is complete, miraculous, impossible, and Abram knows exactly why. "It was not my sword," he murmurs, looking at the battlefield. "It was God's hand." As he returns victorious, something extraordinary happens. A king Abram has never seen before comes out to meet him: Melchizedek, king of Salem and priest of God Most High. The encounter is surreal. This man is not a Canaanite idolater. He knows Jehovah. He serves the same God as Abram. Melchizedek brings bread and wine, and blesses Abram. "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, producer of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your oppressors into your hand." Deeply moved, Abram gives Melchizedek 1/10 of everything, the first tithe recorded in Scripture. It is an acknowledgement that this victory was not his, but God's. Then the king of Sodom approaches, offering a deal. "Give me the people, but take the goods for yourself." It is a tempting offer. Abram could become immensely wealthy. But he raises his hand in oath. "I have raised my hand to Jehovah, God Most High, producer of heaven and earth, that I will not take a thread or a sandal strap or anything that is yours, so that you may not say, 'I made Abram rich.'" That night, back in Hebron, Abram is transformed. He has seen God act powerfully. He has won an impossible battle. He has met another worshiper of the true God. He has refused riches on principle. But as Sarai sleeps beside him, an old anguish returns to torment him. "God," he prays silently, looking at the stars, "you have given me great victory. But what good is it if I remain without a son? Will Eliezer of Damascus, my servant, be my heir? Is this it?" As if in answer, God speaks through a vision. "Do not be afraid, Abram. I am a shield for you. Your reward will be very great." "Sovereign Lord Jehovah," Abram responds, his voice breaking with emotion, "what will you give me, since I remain childless? This man will not be your heir. Your own son, who will come from you, will be your heir." God takes him outside the tent. "Look at the heavens and count the stars, if you are able to count them. So will your offspring be." Abram looks at the night sky, dotted with countless twinkling stars. And, despite the impossibility, despite the advanced age, despite Sarai being barren, he puts faith in God. And God counted it to him as righteousness. But there is a problem. How will this promise be fulfilled? Abram is 86 years old. Sarai is 76. Decades of marriage without children. Natural hope has long since died. Then Sarai, desperate to help God fulfill his promise, makes a proposal that will change everything. God has prevented me from having children. Please, have relations with my Egyptian maidservant, Hagar. Perhaps I can have children through her. Abram, tired of waiting, agrees. It is a decision that will bring unimaginable complications. Hagar conceives quickly, and Ishmael is born when Abram is 86 years old. But this is not the son of the promise. It is the son of human impatience. Abram's tent, once united, becomes a field of tension. Hagar, pregnant, begins to despise her mistress. Sarai, embittered, blames Abram. Nephew Lot is distant, living dangerously close to sin in Sodom. And God's true promise, the son who will come from Sarai, still seems impossible. 13 years will pass in divine silence. 13 years of anguished waiting. But Jehovah has not forgotten. The greatest miracle is yet to come. 13 years have passed since Ishmael's birth. 13 years of divine silence. 13 years in which Abram has aged from 86 to 99 years, watching his son grow and wondering, could Ishmael be the fulfillment of the promise? Abram's tent is no longer a place of peace. Hagar, Ishmael's mother, has gained status, but the tension with Sarai has never completely dissipated. Sarai, now 89 years old, sees Hagar's youth and feels the weight of age. Her barren womb is a wound that never heals. Abram, for his part, carries the silent weight of doubt. Did he make the right decision by listening to Sarai? Did he get ahead of God's plan? But Ishmael is his son, strong, vigorous, skilled. How can he not love him? How can he not see him as the answer to prayers? The nights are the worst. Abram lies in his tent, listening to the wind from the hills of Hebron, and struggles with tormenting thoughts. Lord, he whispers in the shadows, where are you? Why don't you speak to me anymore? Have I done something wrong? Is Ishmael not acceptable to you? Silence responds. During those years, Abram faces the most difficult adversity for a man of faith, the apparent absence of God. There are no voices, no visions, only the relentless passage of time and the inevitable aging of the body. Sarai also struggles. Every morning upon waking, every time she sees her reflection in the water, she is confronted with reality. She is old, far beyond childbearing age. The hope that once shone in her eyes when Jehovah promised offspring to Abram has completely extinguished. Perhaps I misunderstood, Sarai confesses one night to Abram. Perhaps the promise was about Ishmael, and I, foolish, wanted to force something that wasn't meant for me. Abram holds her wrinkled hand, feeling the fragility of her bones. The true God has spoken. He does not lie. We just still don't understand how he will fulfill it. One morning, Abram climbs alone to a hill near Hebron. He sits on a rock, watching his flocks scattered through the valleys. Servants come and go. Life continues. But something within him is broken. I obeyed you, he speaks to the empty sky. I left Ur. I left Haran. I lived as a nomad in this strange land. I believed when you said my offspring would be like the stars. But look at me. I am 99 years old. Sarai is 89. The body doesn't lie, my God. How can this be? It is there, in that moment of total honesty and vulnerability, that Abram makes the most difficult decision of his life, to continue believing even without understanding, to continue trusting even without seeing, to continue obeying even when everything seems impossible. I will not give up on you, he finally declares, tears streaming down his aged face. Even if I don't understand, even if it seems like madness, you are God and I am only Abram. That very day, upon returning to the tent, it happened. The true God appeared. It is not a distant vision or a confused dream. It is a tangible, powerful, real presence. Abram falls with his face to the ground, trembling. "I am God Almighty," declares Jehovah. "Walk before me and prove yourself blameless. And I will establish my covenant between me and you and will multiply you very, very much." Abram remains prostrate, barely able to breathe. 13 years of silence broken by that voice. "As for me, here is my covenant with you. You will be father of a multitude of nations. And your name will no longer be called Abram, but your name will be Abraham, because I will make you father of a multitude of nations." It is not just a name change. It is a transformation of identity. Abram means father is exalted. It is a nice, respectable name. But Abraham means father of a multitude. It is a prophetic declaration, a name that carries destiny. "As for Sarai your wife, you shall not call her Sarai, for Sarah is her name. I will bless her and also give you a son by her. I will bless her and she will become nations. Kings of peoples will come from her." Abraham, still prostrate, cannot contain his laughter. It is not mocking disbelief, but stunned incredulity, almost hysterical. Will a man of 100 years have a child? And will Sarah, a 90-year-old woman, give birth? In his humanity, in his brutal honesty, Abraham cries out, "If only Ishmael might live before you." It is a father's cry. Ishmael exists. Ishmael is real. Ishmael is his beloved son. Why not him? But God is clear, "No. Sarah your wife will indeed bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his offspring. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will bless him, make him fruitful, and multiply him very, very much. He will father 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you at this appointed time next year." The sovereign Lord then commands something radical. All the males in Abraham's house must be circumcised. It is the sign of the covenant, a permanent mark in the flesh representing the special relationship between God and his people. Abraham, at 99 years old, does not hesitate. That very day, he circumcises himself. He circumcises Ishmael, 13 years old. He circumcises all 318 men of his house and all servants bought with money. The pain is intense. The recovery difficult. But it is absolute obedience. Sarah, when she learns that her name has changed and that she will conceive a son, reacts with the same honest incredulity. But something in her also transforms. For the first time in decades, a glimmer of hope, fragile, frightening but real, ignites in her heart. Abraham is no longer the man who left Ur. He is not even the man who left Haran. 13 years of silence have refined him like gold in fire. He has learned that faith is not the absence of doubt, but the choice to trust despite it. He has learned that obeying God sometimes means not understanding. He has learned that God's timing is not human timing. And most importantly, he learned that the Creator had not abandoned him. Silence was not rejection. It was preparation. In the following nights, as he recovers from circumcision, Abraham looks at Sarah sleeping beside him and whispers, "Next year, we will have a son. Our son. The son of the promise." It is a declaration of pure faith. The body says impossible. Logic says absurd. Age says ridiculous. But God has said it will be. And that is enough. 27 years have passed since that impossible day when Sarah, at 90 years old, gave birth to Isaac. The miracle Abraham had waited decades for finally happened. The son of the promise was born amid joyful laughter, Isaac, whose name means laughter. Abraham is now 125 years old. Isaac, according to tradition, is 25 years old, a strong, obedient young man who knows Jehovah and walks in his father's ways. Sarah died 3 years earlier at 127 years old and was buried in the cave of Machpelah, the only piece of land Abraham owns in Canaan. The loss of Sarah still hurts. But Isaac is Abraham's living consolation. In him reside all the promises, nations, kings, blessing for all the earth. Everything depends on Isaac. And then the Lord speaks. "Abraham." "Here I am," responds the patriarch, immediately recognizing the voice that has shaped his life. "Take, please, your son, your only one, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains that I will indicate to you." The world stops. Abraham feels as if the ground has disappeared beneath his feet. His heart pounds in his chest. The voice, it is unmistakable, it is Jehovah. But the command, sacrifice Isaac? Throughout the night, Abraham does not sleep. He remains in his tent, wrestling with the most impossible command he has ever received. His brain desperately seeks some other interpretation, some misunderstanding. But there is no error. God has commanded Isaac's sacrifice. How could this make sense? All the promises pass through Isaac. Through Isaac your offspring will be named. Without Isaac there will be no nations. Without Isaac there will be no blessing. Without Isaac, everything God promised would crumble. And yet the command is clear. At dawn, Abraham rises. His face is pale but determined. He splits wood for the burnt offering. His hands tremble as he holds the axe. He prepares the donkey. He calls 2 young servants. And he calls Isaac. "Father," the young man responds, smiling, trusting, innocent. "We are going to worship God in Moriah," says Abraham, his voice almost failing. The journey lasts 3 days. 3 days in which Abraham carries the weight of a devastating secret. 3 days walking beside the son he loves, knowing what awaits at the final destination. Each night around the fire, Abraham watches Isaac sleep and fights against despair. How can I do this? How can I raise the knife against my own son? But a deeper faith sustains him. Abraham knows God. Decades of relationship, of fulfilled promises, of witnessed miracles. God is able to raise him even from the dead, Abraham thinks. He doesn't know how, but he knows who has commanded. On the 3rd day, Abraham sees the place in the distance. His heart almost stops. "Stay here with the donkey," he tells the servants. "The boy and I will go over there and worship, and we will return to you." We will return. The words leave his mouth before he can stop them. It is a declaration of absolute faith. Abraham places the wood on Isaac. He himself carries the fire and the knife. Father and son climb together in heavy silence. Then Isaac asks, "Father?" The son's voice almost destroys Abraham. "Here I am, my son. Here is the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham closes his eyes briefly, gathering strength. When he opens them, there are tears. "God will provide for himself the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And they continue climbing, together. At the top of Mount Moriah, with trembling hands, Abraham builds an altar. He arranges the wood. And then, with a broken heart, he turns to Isaac. He must tell the truth. "Isaac," his voice breaks. "God commanded that I offer you as a sacrifice." The young man pales. His eyes widen in shock. But then, something extraordinary happens. Isaac looks at his elderly father, the man who has always obeyed Jehovah, who has always spoken the truth, who has always trusted God. And Isaac chooses to trust also. "If God has commanded it, Father, then let us do it." Abraham can barely see through the tears. He binds Isaac's hands and feet, hands that helped him build altars, feet that walked beside him for years. He places him on the altar, on the wood. Isaac lies down, trembling, but does not resist. His eyes meet his father's. "I love you, father. I love you, son." Abraham extends his hand and takes the knife. He raises it, the metal gleaming under the sun. His arm trembles violently. Every fiber of his being screams to stop. But his faith is greater than his heart. He begins to lower the blade. "Abraham! Abraham!" The voice thunders from heaven, authoritative, urgent. "Here I am." Abraham shouts, the knife stopping in midair. "Do not lay your hand on the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only one, from me." Abraham drops the knife. His legs fail and he falls to his knees, sobbing uncontrollably. Isaac, still bound, cries too, tears of relief, of shock, of crushing gratitude. With trembling hands, Abraham unties his son and embraces him with desperate strength. "You are alive. You are alive. Thanks to God, you are alive." Then they hear a sound. They turn and see a ram caught by its horns in a thicket near the altar. God has provided. Abraham takes the ram and offers it as a burnt offering in place of Isaac. And as the flames rise, he gives that place a name, Jehovah-Jireh. Jehovah will provide. The angel of Jehovah calls again from heaven. "By myself I have sworn," is the declaration of God, "that because you have done this thing and have not withheld your son, your only one, I will surely bless you, and I will surely multiply your offspring like the stars of the heavens and like the grains of sand on the seashore, and your offspring will take possession of the gate of his enemies. And by means of your offspring all nations of the earth will certainly bless themselves, because you have listened to my voice." Father and son descend the mountain transformed. What happened there transcends words. Abraham proved that he trusts in the Creator above all else. Above logic, above paternal love, above life itself. And God, in response, has sealed his promise not just with words, but with an oath, the most absolute guarantee God could give. That night, around the fire, Abraham and Isaac do not speak much. They don't need to. They are alive. They are together. And they know, with absolute certainty, that Jehovah is faithful. The supreme test has passed. Abraham's faith, refined to the breaking point, has emerged purer than gold. Abraham's final years are bathed in the golden light of peace and fulfillment. After Mount Moriah, something changes profoundly in him. The tension he has carried for decades, that constant anxiety about how the promises will be fulfilled, has dissolved. The Creator has proven his faithfulness so absolutely that there is no longer room for doubt. Abraham is now 140 years old. His body is frail, but his eyes still shine with the clarity of one who intimately knows the Creator of the universe. Isaac, at 40 years old, finally marries. Abraham sends his most faithful servant, probably Eliezer, on a journey of almost 800 kilometers to Haran, where his family still lives. The instructions are clear. "Do not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites. Go to my land and get a wife for Isaac." And God guides every step. Rebekah, Abraham's great-niece, proves not only beautiful but generous, hardworking, and above all, a sincere worshiper of the true God. When the servant tells the story of how God led him specifically to her, Rebekah does not hesitate. "I will go." The day Isaac first sees Rebekah is one of the sweetest moments of Abraham's final years. He watches from afar as his son walks to meet the caravan at dusk. He sees the moment when Isaac's and Rebekah's eyes meet. He sees love born between them. He took her to Sarah's tent, his mother, Abraham remembers with a smile. Isaac finally finds consolation after Sarah's death. And Abraham finds peace knowing the line of promise will continue. Some time later, Abraham marries Keturah. He is already very old, but Jehovah still blesses him with vitality. 6 sons are born from Keturah: Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shurah. From them will come the Midianites, Medanites, and other nations. Abraham loves them, but knows the promise belongs to Isaac. Before dying, he gives generous gifts to Keturah's sons and sends them to the east, ensuring Isaac will be the sole heir of everything he possesses. Ishmael also visits occasionally. The young man who was sent away at 19 years old is now a middle-aged man, father of 12 princes, exactly as God promised. The relationship between father and son has healed over time. Abraham sees in him a different blessing, not the messianic promise, but a numerous offspring that will also be great. On a quiet afternoon in Hebron, sitting in the shade of the great trees of Mamre, Abraham gathers Isaac, Rebekah, and the small grandchildren, twins born recently, Esau and Jacob. He holds little Jacob in his lap, feeling the child's comforting weight. "Did you know," he says to Isaac, "that when I left I had no idea how God would fulfill his promises?" Isaac smiles. "I know, Father. I had no children. Your mother was barren. I was 75 years old and no longer young. It seemed impossible." Abraham looks at the great-grandchildren. "And now I look at you, and I see the beginning of a multitude. Like the stars. Like the sand of the sea." Rebekah approaches. "Tell us again, Father Abraham. Tell about the voice you heard in Ur." And Abraham tells. He tells about leaving everything behind. About the famine in Egypt and the mistake he made lying about Sarah. About the separation from Lot and the war against the kings. About Melchizedek and the tithe. About the 13 years of silence before Isaac was born. And Mount Moriah? Isaac asks softly. "Tell about that day." Father and son exchange a deep look, loaded with shared memory. "That day," Abraham says slowly, "was the day I learned that the Creator doesn't ask for sacrifices to hurt us, but to transform us. He didn't want your life, Isaac. He wanted my complete trust. And when I gave it, He provided. He always provides." As the sun begins to set over the hills of Hebron, Abraham rises with difficulty. His 175 years weigh on his body, but not on his soul. He walks alone to a small altar he built decades ago. There, he kneels for the last time as he has done thousands of times over 100 years in Canaan. "Lord," he prays, his voice weak but firm, "you called me your friend. I, who was nothing but dust and ashes. You made me father of nations when I didn't have even one son. You gave me this land when I was just a nomad without a home. You fulfilled every promise you made." Tears stream down his wrinkled face. "I haven't seen everything. We are still few. We still don't possess all this land. But I know, with every fiber of my being, that your promises will be fulfilled. My offspring will be a blessing to all nations of the earth. The deliverer will come through Isaac. I will not see it, but that doesn't matter. You are faithful. That is enough." Abraham dies in 1843 BC, at 175 years old, at a good old age, old and satisfied with life. He does not die with bitterness for what he hasn't seen, but with gratitude for what he has lived. Isaac and Ishmael, the 2 sons, united in love for their father, bury him in the cave of Machpelah, beside Sarah. The only piece of land Abraham owned in life becomes the place of his eternal rest. Centuries later, a prophet will call Abraham friend of God. 2. The nomadic life of Abraham taught the world an eternal truth. Faith is not the absence of doubt, but the choice to trust despite it. It is not having all the answers, but knowing the one who has them. It is not seeing the entire path, but taking the next step.